We're starting off today with a look at the state of the nation, a potpourri of matters, political, social, economic, and we have someone in the studio who is a senior special assistant to the President on Public Affairs, and indeed these are public matters. Dr. Okupe is here. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Nice to be here.
Yeah, it looks like you're having a good time.
I'm not sure about that. These are tough times.
Tough times?
Tough times, I can assure you.
What makes them tough times?
Oh, well, you know, we're in the election mode, and we have very serious challenges, and we're trying to brace up for it.
So how are you managing the serious challenges and campaigning for the elections? Because we're really in the thick of it.
Well, I mean, the instrumentality of government is unstoppable. You know, there is the whole infrastructure, architecture in place. And I think the beauty of being a good executive is being able to multitask. And that's one special quality that my principal has, President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. He's an extremely very strong, hard-working gentleman. So the nation is not going to suffer because of campaign.
You nearly got us talking about politics before we talked about governance, and I think a lot of people want to know what is happening.
You know, Michael, I'm afraid of you.
I already confessed that I have a grouse, because I mean, I did tell you that I did not sleep last night, and I intend to ask you what exactly is happening with electricity, because a lot of people want to know. We've listened to you several times telling us about how electricity will soon be throwing away our generators, according to you.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look like we're going to be throwing them away. If there's anything, it looks like we'll be needing them for a while longer. What is happening in electricity?
You're not looking deep enough. You know, I've come here to speak to you openly and honestly and sincerely. The truth of the matter is that this nation has always been underpowered from time immemorial. If we imagine that from 1960 to 2007 or so, all we were able to do was 2,800 megawatts for a population of nearly 160 million, 150 million, then you understand that we are in real problems. That's number one. Number two, you're talking about Lagos. In Ikeja, you know, and environment, the electrical infrastructure that is on ground, the newest is about 30, 35 years old. In fact, increased generation of power throws them off balance. So that is why we have these trip-ups and tripping off. Now, what I said that you're not looking deep enough is that we have not lied. Okay, we said we are going to. We came up with. The president came up with a power reform. Now, power is a problem, and you have to have a proper roadmap, to be able to pursue it to a logical conclusion. We came up with a power reform. What does the power reform say? One, we're going to improve generation. We're going to tackle the issue of distribution and the aging transmission lines that we have. The transmission lines are archaic, old, and they're in a discredited status. These are very, very expensive things, and they are not best managed by government. And that is why a very essential part of the power reform was the privatization. If we don't get the privatization right, we will never, ever get power correct. Anywhere power is working, be South Africa, be UK, Europe, power is completely in the hands of private sector. And Mark, hold on a second. I don't need to educate you. You know that government does not run anything that has to do with services or businesses better. Be it railway, be it transportation. It's not just power. Be it telephone. We had issues with telephone in this country for donkey years until we threw it open to private sector. Now, the changes that the transformation agenda and the power reforms has brought to power sector are totally, completely irreversible. We are on the way, but there are challenges. But we are on the way. Today, we have doubled our generation capacity. We have, an installed capacity that is almost 3 times what we inherited. There are issues. Hold on.
You said something.
Today we have private sectors. We have private sector people running this show. Now, they've gone to borrow huge sums of money, billions of dollars, billions of naira. If imagine yourself as being one of the proprietors of this power thing, if you don't generate power, people are not going to pay. You saw people demonstrating and all that. So the issue is that we are not there yet, but we are certainly on an irreversible road to, having power sufficiency in the country.
Dr. Okupe, you said something about infrastructure that is 30 to 35 years old. You said again that increasing generation throws them off. Now you've come into a situation where your infrastructure is old, as you said.
Very old.
So why would you increase generation instead of changing your infrastructure before you begin to increase generation?
Thank you. Now, when you are facing a multifaceted thing, now replacing the aging of the aged infrastructure is very expensive. So that is why the government tried quickly to privatize. Now, it is now left for these private companies. They know, government was transparent, so they know what they are inheriting. Their duty is now to go and bring in funds, which they promised government, and replace this aging infrastructure. Also, it will also take time. But, I appreciate what Nigerians are feeling. I know that, in the power situation, we are not there yet. But what I want Nigerians to see is that we are definitely on a road that cannot change. We are pursuing a policy that is irreversible, because today now power is being controlled 100% by private sector. People have put their money in it. There's nothing government can do about that. You understand? So government is retracting backwards. And what does government do? Government is taking the huge capital-intensive investments, like building the Shiroro Dam, $700-something million, doing the Kashambila Dam projects, doing the Mambila project. So, doing the huge things so that, the private sector can handle local distribution, maintenance of this sector. Marco, days that we're going to sleep soundly around the corner. We will get there.
I say amen to that. But it's just a moment, if you let me come in here.
Yeah.
People will say, why do we experience starts and stops? There are times when electricity supply looks like it's getting better. The next minute, it's back to zero. It's back to ground zero, where for weeks, you rarely see the power supply. In some other cases... I
can explain some of that.
Just a moment. One would actually think that when you have a roadmap, you're already seeing what the challenges will be. We've heard that gas has been a challenge since forever. We've seen the CBN and the Minister of Petroleum, try to come together, join forces in conjunction with the Minister of Power to see how they can offset those bills. So we can see that, yes, there are certain challenges.
And efforts have been made to solve them.
Just a moment.
Yes.
But we can also see that, or we also believe that some of these challenges should have been envisaged from when the president started making promises. In January this year, I do remember that he was in Lagos, worshiping at St. Saviour's Church, I believe. And he did say that by mid this year, we should see some improvement in power supply. A lot of people might tell you that they did see improvement at a certain time. Improvement. But what has happened to the improvement we saw in the middle of the year towards the end of the year is what a lot of people do not understand.
Now, these are I myself have had to ask questions. I've asked to ask people who know. These are very technical issues. For instance, you're generating at 4,000. You don't generate, 1 block at a time. All right? It fluctuates, okay? Now you're generating 4,500, 4,700. And all of a sudden, you have a major transmission problem, all right? That, you cannot evacuate the power you're generating. Do you understand? So that creates a crisis, and it takes time for it to be restored. These are things, in fact, let me tell you, that is why, the only hope we have is that today, those who are holding the machinery of power supply are people who have stakes, who have their lives and livelihood depend on it. They have, they have borrowed huge money, and they have to make sure that things work. From government perspective, government is doing its best. I'm glad you understood the issue of gas supply. It's still a major problem. Today, we are producing more than we require in terms of gas supply. and we have been able to harness so many things. We have, the gas pipelines have been aligned with generating plants and all that. But still almost 60-70% of the power is coming from thermal energy. It's coming from turbines, which means it is gas. So once there's a problem, either in gas supply or there's vandalism, in the pipeline, it ultimately causes problem for us. And there are people, I don't want to come here and start to talk sentiments, but these are real issues. Just there are people who are engaged in oil thefts, which you can understand because they take crude oil and go and sell. But what you cannot understand is continuous, unstoppable or difficult to stop gas pipeline vandalism. And the only reason why that is happening is because people know that the president has made a promise that I will give power supply. We have 10 NIPP projects. Most of them are producing below 50% capacity. Not because they're new, but because we still, even though we are producing the gas that is required, we can't pass it through. Somebody goes somewhere. I have gone to see a place in Delta State where Nigerians went 6 meters below the surface to blow a gas pipeline. 6 meters.
So are you implying that the power reforms are being sabotaged?
They're sabotaged. There's no argument about that. This is the truth. But it is still, it is not good enough an excuse for government, but it is true. So what we need to do, government is doing what it's doing because the incidence of sabotage in the last 1 year has reduced, tremendously because government has taken security efforts, they have employed people, etc., locals and all that. So it's improving. We are trying to do it on this side. Some people are leaking it out on the other side. And this is Nigerian story. Nigeria, everything is politics.